Right, hi everyone. Welcome to the stream. Been a technical difficulty. It's not Tim for once. It's not Andy. Not Tom. Me. This whole thing, UCKE'd, knackered. So I've got my AirPods in. Terrible audio quality, I know. Andy, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself. So apologies everybody for the lateness of this stream. Andy, are you there?
I'm here.
Right.
Hey, fresh from my delirium of watching an attacking display. Like all happy and smiling today.
What time is it? We are 8 minutes late, viewers. Thanks for sticking around. I know I'd have probably done one by now, but yeah. Tim's technical gremlins have manifested themselves on my equipment. That is now not working. So yeah, as Jenny just said, better late than never. Evening, Matthew. So we've got Tim, Tom, and Andy on the stream. So let's get going. Right, Tim, how you doing?
Well, what can we say? It was like a breath of fresh air, wasn't it, on Saturday? It really was. It was almost like Critchley had been listening to our repeated grumblings and moans and criticisms and suggestions and taken a large part of them on board. It was Blackpool unleashed, wasn't it? It was Blackpool unfettered, as to use the expression that Owen used. Unfettered Steve. Well, Critchley unfettered Blackpool, and it was like literally watching a different team. And I know we're going to go on to discuss the specifics of it, but as I said on my I'm commenting about my AFTT threads a lot more on this podcast. It was so refreshing. Was my how refreshing was that? Was my title this week, which was slightly more positive than the one the week before. So, and it was a chalk and cheese, wasn't it? It was a complete chalk and cheese, and we can talk about why it happened, but the reality is that we had to win the game, and we went out there with an incredibly positive mindset. And literally looked imperious. You know, we were the first to every ball. But the press was good. Everything. Honestly, I'm going to eulogize all night about that performance. Well, at least up to about 60 minutes anyway. But we'll get to that.
Starting lineup, gents. Grimshaw, Husband, Pennington, Byers, Carey, Dembele, Coullson, Beasley, Lavery, Ekpiteta and Hamilton. On the bench, O'Donnell, Gabriel, Norburn, Joseph, Virtue, Casey and Kouassi. Tom, over to you. Your thoughts when you saw that lineup?
Well, it was largely the same as what we're getting used to, wasn't it? Everyone's picking is the same now, which is quite a nice place to be in the running. I'm trying to think. There was one change, wasn't there? I'm trying to spot who it was. Did Byers come back in?
No, Byers started, but he went off. Did he? On last
I believe.
I thought it was the same. I thought it was the same team.
Just got injured bouncing up and down at Blackburn on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's 3 games in a row, I think, where I've had the starting 11 the same, and you'd think that'd be the starting 11 against Reading. The only sort of argument you've got is Jordan Gabriel. He's not in the team. Is anybody's guess. Obviously, CJ offers us a bit more attacking threat, so I can understand that, and I'm not going to criticise Critchley for not putting another defender in there. So, with that in mind, yeah, that's the one position that's up for debate. The rest of them, yeah, I think it's bang on.
Andy?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I was or the people around me were just saying was maybe they'd have would they have picked Joseph over Lavery, but pretty much the rest of it was, and Gabriel stroke Hamilton is what some of the fans might look at, but otherwise Like, we look better with Byers in that position instead of Norburn, in my opinion, and a lot of fans' opinion, I think. Just a few rumours flying around the South Stand before the game that Sadler had a word with Critchley over season ticket sales and the like, but who knows how true that might be, and that might have been something that went towards what happened after, and the other one that Gabriel has pretty much agreed to join Lincoln, but I don't know how true that is either. But it might explain why he's not in the team. But who knows? We had rumours about Dougal, didn't we? And we were fobbed off. And when we asked the question, and subsequently it all proved right that the rumours were right. So anyway, going on from the team, you can't really argue with it, can you? And subsequently what happened afterwards proved pretty good, eh?
Mind-blowing start, Tim, says the banner. Andy has speculated there that maybe Simon Sadler's had a word with Critchley to go for it, play on the front foot, and what start it was, and why can't we play on the front foot like this from the get-go?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did. I mean, I think Simon, like the rest of us, wants to see attacking football, and I think, going back to my optimism at the beginning of the season, it was thinking that a team could play attacking, expansive football of the type that we saw us play. I mean, we literally, for me, in that first 15, 20 minutes, were unplayable. I'm actually struggling to remember a period of play in recent memory where we've actually played as well as that. I don't think Barnsley could settle on the ball in any shape or form. What I really liked was we had none of this, and whether it's because they pressed us a bit, we had none of this messing around at the back that has become a hallmark of Blackpool play, where we just keep passing it across the back. And I saw somebody mention this and say they wondered whether because there was a bit of a press, we're having to move it quicker from them. I don't know, but everything seemed to be positive. If the ball went out wide, it didn't come back in, it went forward. If the ball came inside, it didn't then go back to Grimmy all the time, it went forward. And there was a clear pattern of forward play, which is what you want. You want possession. We've spoken about this forever and a day, haven't we, to be meaningful. And whilst not jumping ahead too much, it was another feature of this game is that we had over the game, we had 40% possession, 41, I think, to Barnsley, but it didn't look like it. And just like it didn't look like it when we beat Wigan at home, where we had similar, if not even slightly less possession. And it just shows it's about effective possession. And I think if anyone was watching that, you'd have said, you'd have thought we had 75%, wouldn't you? The amount of the ball we had. But all the possessions in the right places. And
we've talked a lot about, Tim, going back to one of the points you made there, we've talked a lot about moving the ball faster. And the ball, it being boring because the ball is being moved so slowly and so methodically almost, right? And we've talked about trying to move the ball faster. On Saturday, the ball moved faster, and that was so much better. So sorry, back to you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it was only I did the Barnsley pod on Thursday last week, and I was bemoaning our system to them, and they were doing likewise. And but I think there's a number of factors. First of all, I do think that there is a pattern of us playing better against the better sides because these teams come at us a little bit and probably create a little bit of space behind. And I generally think on whatever basis Critchley has just decided to go for it. And listen, we we want the manager to have faith in the team and the faith that our team was better than the opposition. And I think he went into that game just thinking, you've got to throw the dice, you've got to roll the dice. And we rolled the dice and it came up 6-6, didn't it? It really did.
We asked for attacking. We asked for exciting football, didn't we? Last pod, we asked for exciting football. That's what we asked for. That's what we want. Exciting football. That's what we asked for, and that's what we got.
We want attacking intent, Andy. We want attacking intent, and that's what
massive
we got from
intent.
The outset.
I think that's a word going around by us, and saw people like Dave Vaughan and just like we're all looking at each other and just saying like, where was this? Where's this been? The intensity was incredible, and we were all over them, weren't we? And yet we didn't have the possession. We were just, every time we got it, we were full of it. We were just full of forward play, and like, geez, if it wouldn't even be, it would not. If we were 8th playing like that, we wouldn't be 8th playing like that. But if we were 8th and playing like that, there wouldn't be any question of season tickets. We'd probably go, well, we just need a couple of defenders here, and we've got everything going forward and things like that, and maybe we just need one more ruthless attacker or something like this. But like, that's the way we should be talking, isn't it? Not 2 weeks ago we were talking about completely changing this squad and whatever. It's just
one thing I noticed, that the atmosphere was back on Saturday. I think that was a culmination of the magnitude of the game, but also, Tim, I think it was the fact that we've played on the front foot from the outset, and it really lifted the place. That
it will do, won't it? I mean, I'm sure. I hope Eddie did go on Saturday, and I'm sure that his eyes never left the pitch. You know, he would have been absolutely mesmerised as every other. Never mind the kids, the adults. I mean, I was actually quite proud of our team on Saturday. I had this. Yeah, that was like, it was a bit of a wow moment, and thinking, Jesus Christ, this lot are really turning it on. And you know, you can talk about Dembele and how unplayable he was, but all over the pitch there were people turning in man of the match performances. And you know, you could perm 6, 7, if not 8 out of that 11 as man of the match. And again, that's incredible, because sometimes we're sat here scratching our head, aren't we, thinking, who would you give the man of the match to? And you're almost like embarrassed to name anybody. But yeah, I just it was fantastic. And you know, we'll go and talk about individual performances as we go along. But the team were on the front foot, the crowd were on the front foot. And it was a nice place to be.
Okay, Tom. The goal was building. I think it was in the cards, and it's come on 13 minutes. The banner there says Carey, sublime strike. I'd like you to wax lyrical about this goal, please.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it back to remember the build-up, but I definitely recall Carey getting hold of the ball in a dangerous position and taking on 1 or 2, and then he obviously gets fouled and lays it off. And you just know as soon as that ball drops to Sonny Carey around that area, he's going to whip it into the bottom corner, and it's going to be a goal as soon as it leaves his foot. You could tell it's the same as that Norburn goal earlier in the season as well. We have those midfielders that can strike a ball, so they've not all gone in for Sonny Carey this year, and I'm really glad that he started to get his goals, that his performances definitely deserve. So it was nice to see him catch a clean strike, and the keeper had no chance. It nestled into the corner, one of those beautiful strikes where you can't quite tell if it's in, because the ball just stopped dead in the net. So it was a brilliant strike, and like I say, richly deserved. So I was half thinking the referee might have blown his whistle, you know, when Karamoko got fouled, but fortunately let it play on, and it was a lovely strike to open the scoring.
Let's have a nod of appreciation to the ref. Didn't he let it flow? He let the game flow, and there was so many challenges early on that he could have quite easily kept stop-start. The game made the game stop-start, and the referee actually made made the game into an exciting game by just not pulling it up for just stupid little shoves and things like that. So let's for the one of the few times in the season, congratulate referee for a good performance. It was good. But Carey, obviously, we have to mention the president of the Sonny Carey fan club, Matthew Jones, Mitch Cook's left foot, for those that and don't know, and he will be delighted because he has been almost a one-man band in defending Carey all season, and so I'm sure he'll have sat in his south stand seat behind the goal watching that nestle in the bottom corner and been delighted. So
just on the ref, Andy, the old adage is, isn't it, that a good ref is one that you don't notice. Actually, I think this is a good ref that you did notice, because I think he put his marker down in the first couple of minutes when I think it was one of the Barnsley lads went down. I think it was in the corner, and he just went, "Get up," didn't he? He went, "Get up," and he was doing that all game, and he wasn't taking any of these little gamesmanship style falls to the ground. He wasn't falling for it, and I think both teams stopped doing it, if I'm being honest, for the most part, because they realised it wasn't going to happen, and
we
that
even
just
had
let
that
the game flow.
Sorry, he even had that one where Beasley collided with him, and he looked like he got it to me, and Beasley collided with him, and the ball spooned out, and Beasley actually missed the shot, but like quite easily he could have scored there. But like I just looked up expecting him to give a foul, and he just didn't. And he must have seen the goalkeeper fumble it, and instead of giving the free kick for the contact, just played on. Fair play to him. Real fair play to him, and just no, really, really good referee. Whether the Barnsley fans think he was a good ref, I don't know, because it's easier for us to say having won the game, isn't it? But that was go on, Tom. Sorry.
I don't know if anyone saw it. Might have just been on the iFollow stream, but there was a shot of an Oompa Loompa, or a Barnsley fan dressed as an Oompa Loompa, giving absolute dogs abuse on the stroke of half time to the Barnsley fans. So I recommend going watching that back if you've got a subscription.
The Oompa Loompas came up on is it the League One page on Facebook, and they were all on a coach with Willy Wonka. One of us was Willy Wonka, and the rest of them were the Oompa Loompas, and they're all about 60 odd. There's no young'uns amongst them, so they look the absolute business. They really did. There seems to be quite a lot of fancy dress. There seems to be quite a lot of fancy dress in that stand, and as we know from years gone by, turning up at last or next to last game of the season for a big away day in fancy dress normally ends in tears. So as we go, those of a certain vintage will remember from Walsall and Lincoln even the following season, but particularly Walsall.
The cops and robbers going on the pitch, if you remember that. That was at Walsall, wasn't it? Do you remember?
I saw one of them. I saw one of on a different track with the Barnsley fans. Sorry, I just saw one guy with his son, and he was saying, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I says, "Well, if I were you, I'll go down the shop and buy a pillow, because we'll make you fall asleep by the end of this game." And actually saw him afterwards, and he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Sorry, that was the Blackpool that not even us have seen all season." So a different Blackpool turned up. I felt a bit of a mug, really.
Mr. H has just said, again, this is for someone of a certain vintage. For those of a certain vintage, did you not have a bit of bullseye feeling watching that performance? Have a look at what you could have won. Generally, when they bring out the speedboat as the missed star prize.
Yeah,
I think it's a very good point, that, Tim, isn't it, from Mr. H there?
Wait, Go on,
Go
Tim.
on, Andy, if you want to say something.
Yeah. So sorry, I've just like in previous pods we've said this team's better. This team's better than what they're showing, and then I think over the last few weeks we've been questioning ourselves. And I think Raggy said something. Maybe this team's not as good as we thought, and maybe it's the players that are not good enough. On Saturday, they showed it wasn't the players. On Saturday, it wasn't the players that weren't good enough. It was it was just the intensity that seems to be the problem. We were just so much better on Saturday, weren't we?
Same question to you, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to you. Listen, we've got to see how things play out on Saturday, but I actually think it's a bit of a travesty that it's not in our own hands. I look at all those ridiculous away performances and think, how can that team turn in those performances? And it's so Jekyll and Hyde. It's just untrue. But they showed on Saturday the way that the team that could have won the league if they'd been allowed to play like that. And we could talk about whether we think it's them or the manager or the system. The system actually works on Saturday, to be fair to it. But it was the mindset and what nobody was in the dressing room and nobody knows where that came from and who was directing it. To be fair, I think it was Critchley. I think Critchley's told them to go and do that, but I haven't seen a lot of evidence of that type of approach this season. Although, there's a few, to be fair, whether they were more by luck than judgment. I know when we played Portsmouth away, we won 4-0, but we were incredibly lucky in that game, I thought. But we played well, and we played well against Bolton, and we've played well against Barnsley away. To be honest, nowhere near that standard, but we were most certainly the better side. But, it's been relatively slim pickings. And so, to go back to the bullseye analogy, it's I'm still frustrated, really, that we're not where I think we should be. Let's hope we get the chance to make amends by results going the right way on Saturday.
Let's hope we end up with the speedboat and not a bendy bully.
I always thought the speedboat was a bit of a dodgy prize, really, because all these people who without wishing to create too much
don't
of a
labour
demographic.
This, Tim. Come on, don't labour it.
Council house and a speedboat is it's like, what do you do with it? Probably in the middle of the country with
You'd be all right.
No water around you. But I know.
I'd have nowhere to store it, but you'd be all right, wouldn't you?
I always thought it was a very strange prize, the speedboat.
You'd have one of your butlers to sort it out.
I've got no room in my driveway with all my bloody kids in the cars.
Tom, have the pair of you quite finished?
Yeah. Sorry, we're just getting me nostalgic.
Oh, Jesus. Tom, did you see the disallowed goal? Beasley's strike. It was a fantastic goal, and the ground was celebrating, and it was quite unfortunate. It was chalked off.
Yeah, it was a brilliant move, wasn't it? Perfect move. Every pass was inch perfect. The finish was inch perfect, right into the corner. A nice diving foot first, a bit of a creative finish from Beasley, who's, he's not prolific, Beasley, is he? And we've all had our criticism of him this year and thought, oh, God, what's Beasley doing up front? We're never going to do much today. But he's a handful. He gets himself about. He's sort of quicker than you'd think and stronger than you'd think. He's not much of anything, but also he's like a 7 out of 10 for all these different sorts of capabilities. So overall, he's not bad. He probably needs someone better alongside him, I think. I don't think Lavery quite is hitting the right form, is he, at the moment? Joseph's not quite right either. So, we're missing Jordan Rhodes, of course, but Beasley himself puts himself about, chips in with a few goals. He's into double figures in the league. So in terms of the goal itself, yeah, brilliant. But you could tell it was offside from the off from where I was sitting, obviously watching it on the telly. I don't know what people thought in the ground, but yeah, linesman flag was up straight away, and it was ruled out. But what a goal it would have been!
It didn't look offside to me.
No, not where
but
we
I've
were.
only seen it from. I've only seen it from a withdrawn position. I think it was the camera on the halfway line. So you saw the ball go forward, but it didn't look to be. And he had the momentum, and when the ball leaves Coullson's foot, I wasn't convinced. But I've not seen a straight on angle, so and obviously I was in the north, so I've not got the best view from a seat by any stretch of the imagination. But Andy, what do you think?
I was behind the goal, wasn't I? And it was a brilliant finish, by the way. It was a brilliant finish because he was stretching, but then he controlled the volley home, and it was just a really, really good finish. And so I couldn't tell whether it was offside or not. But if he'd scored that, the confidence that he would have got from that, he could have gone and got a hat-trick in that game if that had have stood. And we were just all over him at that point, weren't we? And I just felt as though they were right there for the taking, and it was just such a shame it was chalked off, to be honest, because it'll be one of his best goals he'll ever score. That if it is stood,
I think he still takes some confidence. He's actually scored a goal like that, even if it's fallen offside.
Maybe, yeah. It was a really good finish, to be fair to him. Good ball in, good finish.
Tim,
it was,
Tim, as Andy said, I've had to mute him because he's on a delay. Andy, you're on a delay, so I'm going to have to mute you. As Beasley goals chalked off, Blackpool were on the ascendancy in the first half, and it was disappointing that we didn't go in 2-0 up at half time. Or so I thought, as I scuttled down just to top up just 2 minutes before the break. And as I was queuing, you're watching the game on the screen.
You did a Smith then, did you?
Yeah, well, no. I did a Smith in the fact I didn't see the goal live. Watching it on the screen, and there's like a 6-7 delay in the concourse, and I heard a roar. We had the corner, and get in, we must have scored. And I don't know, in a way, quite good seeing it like that, because the excitement builds. What's the goal going to be like? And yeah, there was pandemonium in the concourse, and hobby of all people, eh?
Well, yeah, and it's his first goal of the season, and he's been one of the better performers, hasn't he? And a real leader on the pitch. I thought the way we were a little bit lucky. Well, no, I don't know whether you'd say it was luck, but I was a bit worried he was going to give a penalty away at one point when he pushed one of their forwards in the back as he was marshalling the ball out, and I thought, oh God, might the ref give something? But other than that, I thought and even then, I think I was probably being overly cautious, but I thought he was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. And it was great to see him score a goal because he, as I said, it's his first of the season. He's not particularly prolific, but what an important part he played in that performance. What an important player he's been for us for most of the season. So, yeah, he rose like the proverbial salmon, didn't he? And finished it like a striker would. The way he found that. Thankfully, I didn't retreat to the bar just before that was scored, but there must have been a fair few who did, and a fair few who missed that, and the one that then follows it. So you've got Blackpool have scored a few. I don't know if they've scored many just before the break. They most certainly scored quite a few goals in the first minute or two. So woe betide you if you miss any football and are not back in your seat. And there's probably about 1,000 people in the crowd who missed at least one of those 2 goals. But yeah, it was deserving, because I think if we'd gone in at 1-0, the view would have been that, have we done enough? Have we converted enough chances for what was a ridiculously one-sided first half? And I think there's an argument to say if it'd been 4, it wouldn't have been unwarranted. But, I felt it just gave us the cushion we needed and the fillip we needed as we went into half-time.
That was Hubby's first goal at Bloomfield Road, his second for the club. I don't know if anyone can remember his first goal, but it was at Bournemouth when we came back from 2-0 down. I think it came off the bar and bounced back to him, and he put it in the open net, if anyone remembers that from the Championship.
That was one of the great performances of the Championship, that.
Yeah.
One of Hubby's finest performances that sticks in my mind was Southend away. That 2-footed scything, pointless scything tackle. And I was like, what's he doing? He's
made some errors of judgment in Tangerine in his time, hasn't he? But he's finally come good under Critchley, I think. He's had a few where he's given a few goals away, but we love him. And he's captain at the moment with Norbin out of the team. So, yeah, long may he continue these performances.
Andy, I think he's...
Long may Norbin stay out the team.
Yeah, Andy, something sinister there says Hubby has come back a better player after his injury. A, I think that's correct because he was on a bit of a dip, and B, he has made a noticeable difference to the quality of the side. I think we seem more assured at the back with Hubby back in there. And I think that's no coincidence that we've gone on this run of wins and not conceding many goals. Like we conceded 2 today, but since his return.
I think it's a tad unfair on Casey, to be honest, because I think Casey's a good defender. He just can't do the attacking bit that Hubby does and gives us the balance of the left footer to play with Coullson. And I think we can play a bit faster going forward with Hubby there. With Casey, he's not a natural left-sided player in those 3. It'd be okay on the right. It'd be okay on the right. It might be okay in the middle, but we definitely Hubby on that side. Hubby's only problem is they drop it in just behind him. That's the only problem that I think with Hubby, but. They didn't do that on Saturday, certainly in the first hour or so. So it gave him a bit more freedom, and he does well. When he whips in those crosses, the good crosses in, aren't they? A lot of the time. So, and fair play to him for the goal. He loved it as well when he came over into the corner. He was loving life.
Okay, Tim, we've gone in 2-0 to the good. We've started the second half very much like we started the first half, and what a finish from Hayden Coullson.
Did he get back in time, by the way? Are we still
queuing? Yeah. I know, I've just made it back to my seat, actually. I got the ridiculous thing of being... I had 1 foot out of the concourse and into the sort of corridor area, and I got me knuckles wrapped for leaving the area. I was like, oh, for God's sake. It's like, in the Japanese trains when they force you back on the train, like someone physically pushing you all into an already crammed area. It was like that. So, yeah, I just made it back anyway to see Hayden Coullson smashing in a moving ball like that, as was demonstrated at football, Tim, the other night by me when I shanked it high and wide, a moving ball across. It's a very hard thing to do. But Coullson controlled that beautifully. He didn't smash it. If you look at the technique, he just kind of took the pace off the ball and stabbed it home almost. Very difficult skill to do. And just rewards for Hayden Coullson. I think he's gone from strength to strength since we've signed him and capped off with a brilliant goal.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of jury out on Coullson when he first came.
Yeah.
But I think probably the last 5 or 6 games we've really seen what Critchley's always seen in him. To be fair, listen, I'll say it when it's justified. He's clearly seen the player that he can be, and we're all now hoping that we might be able to sign him along with Byers, aren't we? Having seen what a positive contribution they've made to the team. I mean, I will like to add, because he hasn't been mentioned so far, and he's normally mentioned in dispatches for the wrong reasons. But I thought CJ's contribution towards that goal was great. I thought his contribution throughout, particularly the defensive contribution, was exceptional. And he found feet a lot, which was good. But yeah, I think if I remember rightly, he drove down the right, put a ball across. It seemed to evade everybody, didn't it? And we had Coullson waiting for it on the left-hand side. And as you've said before, John, very eloquently, got his foot over the ball and drilled it home. A bit like my own performance last Wednesday, which I noticed you haven't mentioned. Where
he may have popped a few goals in.
As you saw, an art in finding the corner of the goal with every shot. But anyway, less about me, and more about Coullson.
No, Andy, they were actually quite nice, sublime finishes from Sakir. As he was saying, living up to his own mantle, hitting the target. He was regularly hitting the target in the bottom corner. Sure, it was just a one-off, though.
I'm sure it will be. We'll see how we do this Wednesday. See if I can repeat it. But I listen. It was a great start to the second half. Again, a little bit of a pity. I think a few people missed it, but I was actually I'd missed the start of the game and I legged it out. Thankfully, I hadn't actually got back to the seat, but I was sort of halfway down the steps of Block E so I had quite a good view of it as it happened. And it was great. And there's always something special about somebody scoring in front of a full North and Q pandemonium, which was great. Just we thought it put the results beyond any doubt whatsoever. And to be honest, in the next 10 minutes or so, I think it could easily have turned into 5-0, never mind 3-0. But for the Barnsley defence living a little bit of a charmed life, I think it would have been justified at that point. I think 3-0 was the least we deserved, if not perhaps we're a bit unlucky only to be 3. The problem, I suppose, with playing with such high intensity as we did in that first 60 minutes is that inevitably at some point
you can't maintain it, can you? You can't maintain that.
And that's when you need to start thinking about how you play your subs. And I think we sort of noticed a shift around the 60-minute mark. And I was actually thinking, well, Critchley, do your normal with your subs. I felt there was a couple of shouts as to what you could have done. But I suppose the difficulty is, do you want to crack too many eggs when you're playing so well? And then I think the risk is, in the first 5 minutes of us dipping off, you're wondering, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? You're wondering whether we might come back. They might come back again. But I thought Dembele started to tire, and I thought Lavery started to tire. And I think Coullson had picked up a bit of a knock in the first half as well, hadn't he? And I wonder whether he was carrying a little bit. So 60 minutes saw for me a massive sea change of what was happening in the game.
Well, unfortunately, the goal came on 67 minutes for Barnsley, and McAtee's goal. We only make subs on 70 minutes, don't we? So to be a bit critical of Critchley there, maybe he should have seen, Tom, the sea of change that Tim's noticed on 60 minutes, and I think he should have reacted around then. As we have mentioned, a massive effort from the players, and I think that was around the time to make changes.
Yeah, let's make no bones about it. Barnsley were awful first half. As much as we were good, they're bad. And they've been on a relegation run in terms of form since February. they've sacked the manager today, so that says a sign of where they are, despite being in the playoff places. They were chasing automatics up until a couple of months ago. It could have been 5 or 6 in our favour. So there was going to be a reaction in the second half. Or, Coullson scored straight away, didn't he, to almost quash that early momentum they were having in the second half. Maybe it would have been a different game if we hadn't scored at that point. But the goal, in terms of the goal itself, 5 minutes before that, they just started building, hadn't they? And if you look at the momentum graph, I don't know if you have that to hand, but it certainly changed in that just before the goal and carried on throughout the rest of the second half when they were really starting to pile on the pressure. And we seemed to forget how to press, how to attack. And it was pretty much one-sided, just as one-sided as it was in the first half for us. It was a pretty grim watch from our side, and we were hanging in there. We were almost like we were going through the motions in the second half a little bit and thinking the game was done. And I very much feared that we might not hold on to all 3 points. I don't know if we'll touch on it in a moment, but there was the disallowed goal and the Grimmy double save as well. So they had some really good chances, and we got off the hook a little bit.
Andy, what was your thoughts of the subs that Critchley made? Obviously, Norburn coming on. Less said about that, the better.
Well, I reckon that the fact that he brought a horse racing trainer into training this week has definitely helped the players, because the horse racing trainer has just decided that the only way to do this was put blinkers on everybody, so they couldn't look backwards or sideways, and they could only look forwards. And this is the parlance that I want to talk about with Norburn, right? I want Norburn to look forward when he comes on, and I understand why. And the game would just the sting had been taken out the game, but you don't concede. You don't concede if the ball's down the other end, right? So you can get the ball down the other end. They can't score if the ball's in their half, right? And so that's why you have people like when Holloway was here, he'd throw another striker on. He'd throw a striker on because he'd want to get the ball down the other end. And so I thought when Lavery was tiring, I thought he might bring Joseph on because he's got legs and he runs, and he'll hurry and get it down the other end, and he'll be a problem to them. But like, I just think we just looked like we were just sinking backwards again, didn't we? And then we started to play slower, and then that's becomes a problem to us. I don't know really what the problem is. Otherwise, Byers tired there, or could we have left him on and brought Norburn on? I don't know the answer.
I mean, Byers had he'd come off against Carlisle, hadn't he? So you do wonder whether he was completely fit, and maybe maybe we just again roll the dice with him. The one thing to say about Norburn is I do wonder whether the captaincy's doing him any favours, because I noticed when he came on, he took over the captaincy, didn't he, from Hubby? They swapped the.
I didn't notice that
captain's armband, and it's difficult for me sometimes because obviously behind the goal, but a lot of people complain he spends all his time trying to cheer everybody else up and rather than actually playing. And I wonder whether he's one of those players who perhaps the captaincy just doesn't suit him. I think Hubby it really suits. I think he relishes the responsibility and leading by example. But I just a thought. I just we talk because I actually think Norburn's a decent player who seems to have gone incredibly negative and under Critchley as against what I ever saw him play when he played for Peterborough. And he's technically a good footballer, but I just wonder whether he should be focusing on his own game rather than worrying about other people too much. Because at the moment, he's not in the starting 11, and on ability, he should be. So, but he's nowhere. He's way off the pace at the moment. Now, whether it's his injury that's done that to him, because obviously he had a very serious injury just before he was originally going to join us, didn't he? And then that sort of put that move on hold for a good 12 months. But yeah, I just wonder whether he's too focused on other people's games when his own isn't right. I would actually take the captaincy off him and just say, play. If you're going to play for yourself.
Hubby's, like I say, Hubby's a natural leader. Hubby's the skipper. He should have it. Tom, so the Barnsley fight back, what are the reasons for it, in your opinion? Or is it a multiple set of issues?
To me, we just sat back. We just let them play. They had nothing to lose. Their fans had been having a go at them all afternoon, and probably, that was the most enjoyment they were going to get all day. Was starting to turn into a fight to try and get rid of the manager. And they were booing Devante Cole when he came off and cheering for one of their own coming off the bench. It would turn sort of toxic on their side. But then all of a sudden they started to get behind him a little bit, didn't they? And they started to build a little bit. And he had a couple of chances and we didn't react to it. And they started to come forward. The trouble we've got with these 5 subs is if you're going to leave the keeper the same, the back 3, then there's 7 on the pitch and you're going to replace 5 of them in between 70 and 75 minutes. So these 5 have got to start finding the rhythm and playing together. So it's the same 5 that come off. Well, 5 out of 7 come off in terms of positions, and it's the same 5 that come on. And to me, there's a bit of a drop off with that starting lineup and the subs as well. You've got Matty Virtue coming on, who, great respect to him, is a League One player. You've got Norburn, who we've just spoken about, who's not going to have much of an impact on the game, to be honest, in a positive way. You're going Gabriel for Hamilton, which is like for like. We've said all season about how it's the system, and he's not going to change the system, so you're not going to change. You can change one for one, but you're not going to do much difference with a like for like player. And then you swap your front 2, don't you? And you've got Joseph and Kouassi coming on who can't get a goal between them. So that's when we seem to drop off. And you look at the trend throughout the season, we're much better in the first half, particularly at home. And then this last 20 minutes, we just can't seem to create anything. We can't break teams down and get that second goal normally to get clear when we're 1-0 up. In this instance, it was, we were 3-1 up at that point, or 3-0 at the start. And we just not seem to know how to manage a game effectively and keep creating chances and keep that intensity. So it just becomes a case of sitting back and taking what you've got, which, first time round with Critchley, it seemed to work more often than not. If you think back to the League One, we knew how to grind out results. And similarly in the Championship that first season, he does know how to shut a game up and kill a game of football when he needs to, Critchley. But there's always a bit of a back door left open with us, isn't there, at the moment?
We got the job done, just Andy. Barnsley knocking a goal in to make it 3-2 down the south end. It was getting a bit tense towards the end, and I think Tom mentioned before another wonder save from Grimmy. What a season he's had! He was there quite rightly announced. Was he man of the match on the ground? Was he man of the match? I think he was.
No, Hubby got it in the ground, didn't he?
It was Hubby, wasn't
Hubby,
it? Yeah,
I think.
everyone around us. Everyone around us was saying Grimmy. I thought it should have been Grimmy personally. I don't think Hubby played well, but he scored a good goal. But big up to Grimmy. It's just been a revelation this season. I think it's even more ridiculous than not being played by Coullson and Man
Made
Utd.
some wonder saves, hasn't he?
What about Virtue's?
He's
Virtue
made some
at the other
wonder
end?
saves.
I mean, that obviously it was 3-1 at the time, and that would have put the game beyond doubt. And all he's got to do is roll it to his right to Joseph.
You'd have finished that, Tim.
Well, I would have done the way I was playing last Wednesday night. I would have done, yeah. But just to hit it,
Virtue looks knackered when he's just come on.
I didn't get that sub really, unless there was injuries. I didn't quite follow it, and so ended up by default in that sort of last 10 minutes, including 15 minutes, including stoppage time, with Norbert and Virtue trying to control our midfield, and neither are exactly firing on all cylinders, are they? And so it just didn't work, did it?
Nope.
Virtue looks well off the pace at the moment, unfortunately.
Shouldn't even be in the squad, in my opinion. Nothing against the lad, but
We,
Yeah.
if you think about it,
Well, that's my
like,
theory. If
Byers
you
is
look at
not
the bench
really
on
our
Saturday,
player,
let's test it. Sorry, Andy. I was going to say let's test it on Saturday. Richard O'Donnell doesn't come on, right? So that's one spot in the bench that isn't used. There's a defender on the bench, normally Casey. The other 5 are coming on with 20 minutes to go. So just have a look and that's your options. They're all going to come on. Critchley uses them all the time. So whatever the score is, if we're 2-0 up, 2-0 down, or 0-0, Virtue's coming on, Kouassi's coming on. All 5 of them are coming on over 3 different stoppages in the game. And that's how we'll manage the game, whether we're trying to win it or trying to lose it. That's what he's going to do in it. So we've just got to get over that. But I totally agree. Virtue will be gone in the summer. I think he's done his 5 or 6 seasons and now, and he's a steady enough player, and he'll probably get a decent move in League One. But in terms of that chance,
I don't think he's good enough for League One.
He's had a decent, maybe not, but he's got a goal in him, hasn't he, normally when he's playing a run of games. But he's just not had the game time, so he's just miles off it at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, so we've seen out the game anyway. 3-2. Happy days. Results have gone our way for once in the week. So we found ourselves at final countdown, gentlemen. I'll just get the graphic up.
John, I've got a confession first.
Go
on. Bless me, far, because I have sinned. I joined in the fisting.
You did.
What?
I thought he
Have a
actually
word with
deserved it.
yourself.
I thought that was the first time this season where I actually thought it was justified. So it's a muted joining, but I'm normally halfway down the tunnel, the exit tunnel by that stage because I can't stand watching it. But I did stay. I thought the players deserved, an ovation for that. And to be fair, I've got to give him credit for a positive setup and a positive approach to the game. Yes, it did go a bit pear-shaped towards the end, but credit where credit's due. So anyway, I've made my confession. Am I absolved? That's what I want to know.
No.
I have to go and sit in confession.
It's
Tory corner.
I think it's an orange card. Like it's not even a tangerine card. It's an orange card for Sakir. That's a 1-match ban from the pod. It's the playoffs.
I agree, Andy.
He's banned from the playoff pod. Shocking behaviour. You'll never be seen in Colin Smith's front room again.
Final day. Let's get us all on there. The final countdown as I put in the banner. There it is, gents. Who thought we'd be in this position 6 or 7 games ago? I'd certainly written season off, but there we sit. 8th position, as we have been all season, pretty much. On 73 points, just above us Oxford. 74. Lincoln also on 74. Barnsley on 75. We have a goal difference of 18. Barnsley 18. Oxford 20 plus 22 and Lincoln plus 27. So a draw's no good because of our goal difference. So I suppose a draw if Oxford get tonked, but that's not going to happen at Exeter. But we've got to win. We've basically got to go to Reading and win and hope results go for us. But we could bizarrely end up finishing 5th. So make of that what you will, gentlemen.
I think the most disappointing thing from Saturday.
Go on, Tim.
The most disappointing thing from Saturday was Lincoln turning around the result against Cheltenham, because I think it becomes incredibly difficult to say that 2 aren't going to get the result. So I was disappointed to say that. I kept hoping that Cheltenham would get an equaliser. So I think it makes it very, very difficult for us. Not impossible, of course, but I think we are things a little bit like it did last Saturday. The Tuesday night, where all the results went our way, and we were pretty cock a hoop at that point, weren't we? And I just think that Lincoln result's the one that's going to come back to haunt us.
Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's the two teams rely on two to slip up in it. That's a bit of a tricky thing. I fancy one to slip up definitely, and if we win our game, I fancy us to move up the table. But it'd be really unfortunate to get 76 points and not make the playoffs. I think that's a decent points return. Barnsley have sacked the manager today, so I was confident they'd struggle against Northampton and Oakwell had turned toxic, but they've got that's changed obviously their situation now. So Northampton at home, you'd fancy them to probably get something. Lincoln probably seem the strongest out of the four, so you'd think they'll win against Portsmouth, who are already on the beach. And then Oxford, anything could happen with Exeter. They're in great form at the moment in the last couple of months, but with nothing to play for, maroon in mid-table, so you don't know what you're going to get. Knowing our luck, we could win and finish 8th, or we could win and finish 7th. Anything could happen, couldn't it? But we're in the mix, and that's all you can ask for at this stage after the last 5 or 6 games. So I think we're going into the season a little bit more positive, dare I say, than we were a month ago. But work to be done for next season if we do stay at this level. How exciting would it be, though, if we sneak in? If we sneak in and get Bolton over 2 legs, that would be quite a game.
Last time we won 4 on the trot was in the promotion season of 2020-21. So hopefully the augurs are there for a repeat performance.
One thing that just popped into my head, Tim, is I think the fact that we have to win at Reading may work in our favour, because we'll go at it all guns blazing, just like we did on Saturday. I think if we go with an attitude like a point may do, we may not play on the front foot, and we may play a bit more cautiously, but we've got to throw caution to the wind there, and we've got to go and attack Reading. And also you look at the other teams; they've all got nothing to play for. But Walsall had nothing to play for when they beat us. Lincoln had nothing to play for when they beat us in the 90s. So that's my positive head on there, thinking there may be an upset here, because you do get, particularly Barnsley, will be very tense playing against Northampton. They're no mugs. So I can see something happening there. I think Portsmouth might want to turn it on against Lincoln, and Exeter are decent at home. They're in a very good run of form, so I really do think anything can happen, and I think we'll go and take Reading on. I think we'll beat them. So
the thing for me is somebody around me was saying we might regret conceding them too because of a goal difference and things like that on Saturday. But I said as long as we win this game and win our last game, if we finish on level on points with Barnsley, we're going to be above them, because they can't possibly have the same goal difference, right? So if as long as we win, if Barnsley draw, we finish above them, and then we're looking at one of Lincoln and Oxford to slip up, and honestly, they both got. I think they both got tough games there. Portsmouth will take a load to Lincoln. They won't want to let them down, and Exeter have been in good form against, and they've got to play Oxford. So, but equally, Reading have been in reasonable form as well. So, we haven't got the easiest game there, and will their fans stop the game? It's been mooted recently that they're not going to do that, and they're not planning on doing it.
I think they said this on the last pod. BST had might have done it on the Barnsley one. BST had a meeting with the Reading fans sports trust just before they announced the new that the owner was prepared to sell day before because just wanted to pick our brains. And they were adamant then that there'd be no in-game protests on the last game of the season, even before they knew that the owner was prepared to sell. On the basis they've done that, and there's no appetite to do it again. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean it won't happen, but my understanding is the owner's now prepared to sell. They've got a preferred bidder. I can't see why they would want to do that at this point, even if there was the appetite, which there wasn't 5-6 weeks ago, because we specifically asked the question and said, is that something you're considering for the last game of the season? And it was an outright no. So let's hope that remains the case.
Oxford and Reading are keen rivals. It's not keen. I'll put on the word keen there. Reading won't want to help Oxford. The way
who remembers Thames Valley Royals that Robert Maxwell was trying to form, wasn't he? He was trying to get them to amalgamate, wasn't he? And that's why they hate each other, I think, part of the reason.
That before he jumped off the...
Yeah, before
he jumped off the boat, wasn't it?
Maybe he was pushed by an Oxford or a Reading fan.
I don't think that'll play into it. I can see Mark's point there, but I don't think that'll play into it because they are professional footballers. They're not fans at the end of the day. A lot of these players that play for these clubs. Right. So let's move on to the Reading game then. Blackpool have been given more tickets today. Fantastic for the club. They've put in more coaches on, reduced it from £35 to £20 a head. That's a great gesture from the club. So well done there. Let's get it packed out.
Have you seen the latest? The knife in their own feet again. Like you got to be if you're under 21 or under, you got to go with an adult. And as somebody replied in the message, I got a 2-year-old when I was 21. And just like, oh my God, what? Just it, I can see 18.
We probably want a load of youth on there causing trouble, Andy. That's probably why.
Yeah, I can see that to a point.
You can't knock them. You can't knock them.
But anyway,
you can't knock them for putting a coach travel on £20 to Reading.
There's no alcohol stops, is there on
not really knocking
club coaches? So. Where the others will have a stop somewhere and whatever. I don't think they get that on the Blackpool ones. So I think they'll. I think you're right, John. I think that's probably a case of let's try and be a little bit of selective as to who goes on it and who's going anyway. I'm still umming and ahhing me. You
what? You umming and ahhing?
How can you? There's never been any reason in our history to go to Reading, has there ever before until now? So this has got to be a new ground for a lot of people. So I imagine a lot of people will be going for it just to tick it off this Saturday. And specifically, it's a massive game for us. I know it's not all in our hands, so that might put a few people off. But imagine if we do it and you sat at home. So you've got to go for it.
Matthew Warren did 4:30 start on BSA's coach.
I've never thought in all of this that we're going to qualify for the playoffs. I've never thought in any of it, right? And the first little bit of hope I've got is this week. I've never thought it all the way through. I've just thought we're playing so dire, the football and everything. I never thought we got a chance. And
are you going, Andy? Then are you going
that Saturday? No, I literally cannot go on Saturday. I've got to go to work on Saturday. I've got something on, but if I'd have thought about it 4 or 5 weeks ago, I'd have booked the day off maybe. But it was never in the equation really.
It was never on the cards, was it?
If I was off, I'd be there. If I was off, I'd be there. But it's not going to be, is it? So now we're looking at it. We just hope that we're gonna have a decent following there, aren't we? A load of lads are going down on the Friday. It's an early start if you're leaving Blackpool, as we know, but you just hope, really, really, really hope that team goes out at Reading and does something like they did on Saturday and plays with the intensity that played. You don't really. You can only concentrate on your own result. As I said last week before this game, you can only concentrate on your own performance and your own result. And we've just got to make sure that we get 3 points on Saturday, and then whatever happens. We don't want to sit there with any regrets of, oh my God, we messed up there. We only got a draw, or we've lost, or whatever. We could even lose, and a draw would have been good enough, but I doubt that anyway. We have to win, really. We have to win this game. So let's go
Tim,
for
so
it.
you go, Tim,
on the front foot, Mr. Gritchley.
I don't think I'll be able to resist. I'm probably going to drive down, though. I think I can't sit the coach for 5 hours. Most certainly not a dry one, anyway. I think I'd rather. That would be torture. No, 10 hours, isn't it? If you on the way back as well.
There's always ways of means. There's always ways of means.
Get your body in your soft drinks.
Tommy,
make sure you got your screw tops though.
Yeah. Andy has his spares.
Yeah, I'll be in Krakow this weekend, unfortunately, stag do, so it's a no from me. I was, when it got planned in, I thought last game of the season, I hope I'm not missing something, but obviously glad to be missing something because we're in the mix, but I'll be shooting real life guns, apparently. We're going to a place to shoot machine guns and snipers and things like that, so I'll have to try and sneak off and try and find a stream or something, find out what's going on. But
great city, Krakow. Great city.
Yeah. So I've heard, yeah. It should be good. But yeah, it's going to be tricky without any, I don't know what the internet signal will be like, but I'll be trying to keep an eye on 4 different scores and working out all the permutations. I think my head will explode at some point trying to work it all out. But I don't know about anyone else, but I've been doing that all week and probably for the last 4 weeks trying to worry about different scores. I think you've got to just focus on yourselves, haven't you, and try and win the game. Yeah. And then maybe in the second half, if we're winning by a couple, then you might start to take a look and say, how Barnsley getting on, how Oxford getting on, but let's just go and win the game.
Just do what Critchley does, Tom. Never looks at the league table.
Yeah, never.
Nicky might be looking this week.
Let's just hope. It's 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? So it'll be like 3:15 that we're finally out of that wretched 8th spot.
If the odds were being done here, we'd be 16-1, wouldn't we, or something like that?
Yeah.
To qualify for the playoffs, even now.
Someone's got to make it, though, haven't they? Right, I think we'll leave it there, gents. No musical outro because my mixer's
knackered.
Right. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. If you're watching on the stream. So we'll be coming back either extremely elated or I think we'll be just philosophical if we don't do it, because I don't think any of us have expected us to do it, and it'll just be a Brucey bonus if we do make it. So for the final time this season, come on, you Pool!
Of course we're going to
come on, the Pool!